Welcome back. Now, the National Commission on Research, Science and Technology has launched a call for research proposals focused on artificial intelligence for securing water futures in Namibia. Here to discuss the objectives of this initiative, the type of research being sought, and the role of innovation in addressing Namibia's water concerns, Oswald, Mughongora and Kelvin Mubiana, Katukula of NCRST. Welcome to Namibia Daily Roundup this evening.
Thank you.
All right, just to start off with you, Oswald, maybe just what prompted NCRST to launch this specific call focusing on artificial intelligence for securing water futures in Namibia?
Yes, thank you very much, and evening to the viewers. As a commission, the NCRST is mandated to promote and develop research, science and technology in Namibia. Apart from just promoting, how do we ensure that this research actually contributes to socio-economic development? How do we do that is we do periodic needs assessment of what is really affecting us as a nation and set a tangible and practical research agenda. So we have gone in the field and we have seen that we are actually experiencing water issues both in urban areas as well as rural areas. One practical example, for example, in the urban areas is the persistent drought. But as much as there is a persistent drought in terms of availability, when we get water, sometimes we also have issues of non-revenue water lost through water leakages, for example. So we've gone in and said, how do we ensure that we have research that is really tackling these issues and getting us practical solutions? So we have then gone and collaborated with international organizations and put out a call to look at these issues so that water issues will be solved ultimately. Thank you.
All right, Kelvin, just to you, Namibia faces chronic water security. How can AI realistically help address this challenge, particularly forecasting and resource management?
I think one way that we can do that is through, as we know that in the advent of AI, we are capable of analyzing big data in a short span of time. And as a result, we can use AI in forecasting the weather patterns using data that is available to be able to predict the weather elements far much better than we are doing it manually when individuals are doing that. The other one is also on resource allocation, especially in drought-prone country like Namibia. It gives planning to the government more easy because they can be able to allocate resources where they're most needed. And also the last point that I can mention is the operational efficiency, where we can use the Internet of Things to monitor real-time the wastage of water resources that we are consuming in our towns and in our localities. Like, for example, in Rundu, City of Windhoek, Rundu, and also Ngodiva municipalities, we funded a research which is looking into that, and the researchers are working collaboratively with these municipalities to see to it on how AI can be used to monitor leakages that can help them to save on wastage of water.
And also, who is eligible to apply for this funding opportunity?
Yes, thank you very much. So every Namibian researcher is eligible, but their conditions we are very deliberate in ensuring that there's a capacity building as a commission. So what we want is applications from principal investigators, researchers associated to any public or private universities. But a major part of it is that they need to work in collaboration with students, because we want to ensure that as much as there's research more going on, there's also capacity building which is being passed to the students. Yes.
Kelvin, I'm really curious to know how innovative AI applications, how is it used? How will it be ideal or relevant for Namibia's water system? How will you incorporate AI in just the producing of water at the same time?
Yes, using AI in the utility or in our water system, I think I can, like I alluded earlier to what the research that we funded that includes the City of Windhoek, Ngodiva and Rundu. We also funded another one in Katima where Dr. Fabiano from Katima campus, is using AI to maximize agriculture by also utilizing the satellites and drones to predict when and how to plant. So that's one way that AI can be used. And the most practical one that I can also give is, I'm from Shukmansbeck in Zambezi region. We get flooded every year. And using AI to predict how the patterns will be and how floods can come, it can help us, like Morocco is using it, and also in Kenya, where real-time information is shared on mobile phones as to telling them how the floods are likely to come. And that can really help the localities of my village where I come from, utilizing the advantages of these technologies.
Oswald, how does this initiative align with national and global development goals?
Yes, thank you. It's in perfect alignment. As a research agenda, for example, it's one of our priority areas, the NCRST. But on top of that, if you see in the National Development Plan, even the 6 which have been concluded, the issue of water is coming out very strongly. Also, as a separate thematic area and also as an enabler, we know if we are going to develop as a country, we need water as the raw material. So it's in perfect alignment both as a thematic area, independent thematic area, and as well as an enabler. Now we went on to say, for example, if you also look very big in our National Development Plan as well as our the SWAPO manifesto. So how do we now merge these two enablers, very important enablers, to ensure that the future and the economic recovery of our country is really enhanced? And for that reason, it's in perfect alignment, not only in the Namibian platform, but it's also in alignment with our SDG. For example, it talks to SDG 6, which speaks on water innovations as well as climate change. How do we infuse bigger platform?
And Kelvin, maybe just in what ways do you see this call supporting government decision-making and long-term water security strategies?
Yeah, I think through using from social media, we saw the effects of water shortages that took place in Mughongora, where people were digging up wells and sadly some lives were lost. So using this, it can inform drought-stricken areas and also on the government on how to plan for such type of areas. And also to support the national developmental plan with measurable indicators that the government can use as they are planning on how to see to it that water, which is the basic need, is being accorded to every Namibian.
And Kelvin, again, is there room for multiple disciplinary or cross-institutional collaboration, and how are such proposals evaluated?
The evaluation of these proposals actually, just like in other research that is out there, we follow simple criteria on how to evaluate costs that they go out, and the research community knows this. The first one is also we look into the scientific excellence and the originality of the proposals. We also look into the technical soundness and innovation of the applicants. So we use all those criteria to see which one is to be funded, and also even if there are some other collaborators that would come on board, they have to see to it that they answer or they follow those criteria, which also includes the potential for impact and scalability. How can you expand this research to the next level? As every research comes up with recommendations after the study, and how can we be able to answer and or fund more the recommendation that the researchers are going to bring on board?
And Oswald, for those that want to submit these proposals, what should researchers keep in mind when submitting their proposals? Are there any specific evaluation criteria or red flags perhaps to avoid?
Yeah, thank you. Very key for the NCRST is impact. We want the researchers to clearly demonstrate how their project or their proposals will obviously lead to impact. So the issue of impact is very key for us. It needs to come out. I already indicated on the issue of capacity building. We are going to fund researchers that clearly has stipulated that they are going to work with students. because we want students to be researchers in future. So those are two of the most important criteria that we're going to look at, just to ensure that there is that sustainability. We make sure that there is that. So on that, we will then say we do not want to fund research that is just on research. We are moving away from a component of research being done just purely for publications. We want research being done and developed into something tangible. So we want innovative research proposals that will say, I'm going to do research on this, and at the end of the day, there's a possibility of a pilot of any technologies being derived from it. So we are looking at innovation.
To be, and what does the selection process look like from submission to funding?
NCRST, we do have a system where applications are being loaded, but in most cases, it just follows the simple criteria of, number one, we look at the eligibility of the applicant. So that's going to be screened. Are the applicants having what it takes to conduct this research? Is their budget aligning with what the objectives of the core is? So we look into that. We also give these applications or proposals to external evaluators that are more independent from us, so that they can objectively select and or list them according to how competitive they are, so that the best applicant can be identified.
And to you again, Kelvin, what is the timeline and how do researchers apply?
Yeah, like I said, the core is out on the NCRST website. I think it's supposed to run up to the 20th of this month. Yeah, but however, we are going to see how the volume of the applicants that there is after the closing date comes, because we wanted our researchers that the whole process to start as soon as possible, and also to be able to avail money or funding to whoever comes out on top of the application list. Okay.
Oswald, just as we closely rounding off, how is NCRST working to ensure that findings from these research projects are not only academic, but also practical and accessible to public and policymakers? Because we do a lot of research, but we don't really see the implementation of it.
Yes, thank you very much. We have seen that as well. I spoke about the issue of research being done purely for publications. We don't want that. We want to have research being developed into something that affects or something that solves real life issues. So we're moving in that direction. We put systems in place to ensure that that is accomplished. We were robust, for example, robust monitoring and evaluation system in place. We ensure that there is the component of technology transfer, for example. We have dissemination meetings, dissemination workshops, where the public are also invited. We have policy briefs that we also give out. The issue is, how do we make sure that eventually the results coming out of research is not only being released to researchers, but then released also to the policymakers as well as the general public. So we're looking into how we can enhance that through our public dialogues. A major component of our research of our research is the issue of close collaborations. We ensure that there is collaboration. We're attending workshops, we exchange of ideas between the researchers as well as the students, for example, who will be involved in this project. So we are moving away from the issue of just research being done purely for research. We want to ensure that eventually research reaches the public and the parliament as well.
That's good. And Kelvin, lastly, just what message do you have for researchers, especially young scientists and innovators, about the role they can play in tackling Namibia's water and climate challenges through science and technology?
Yeah, I think broadly that we have to leave it to the institutions of higher learning. UNAM and NAST, Vavisha, IUM, they have the capacity and the research infrastructure to do that. The message that I can give on that question is to the private sector in this country, the government in particular also, to fund research. I think you saw the funding allocation that the government has given when the budget was passed to NAST, UNAM, including NCRST, that the funds just for operation is not necessarily enough to do research.
Of course. Yeah.
So my main message is the government needs to step up, provide much money that is needed for research, because the decision that perspective, which for us to do that we need funding to be deliberately given to institutions of higher learning in the country so that we can inform policies through research. So that's my message that I would want to give, because the operation funding that is given to institutions of higher learning is not enough to conduct research. The government needs to put aside specific funding that is purely meant for research, which can be disseminated properly to our academics in the country so that pure research can be done. Currently, including this research that NCRST is funding, is purely externally sourced funding that NCRST do, because it's not only the money that we get from government that we provide for. We source external funding to do research. However, that is not enough, and that cannot necessarily answer the issues that the government would want to solve. So my appeal is the government needs to pump more money into research.
Thank you so much. Oswald, any last words that you might have in brief?
In brief?
Yes.
Last words.
Yes.
Just to say, we're inviting all researchers from the public universities as well as private universities to apply to this funding. We want to collaborate and see that research really is not just research, but research is research and development. And eventually, we'll be able to quantify how research